the series that we're kind of working on now, which is a parody of Real Housewives. You know, it involves usually the show tapes from 5:30 to 6:30, and after the first act, when the comedy comes out is over at 6 o'clock, we're in makeup chairs getting wigs and bras and dresses put on us. Right. While the show that we just got finished producing is airing, so that at 7 o'clock, as soon as the show's over, we can immediately start filming an episode of this other reality.
Whose idea was that originally?
I think that came just straight from, we were like, after 7th Floor West, we wanted to go on to another reality show. Also produced by Amy and Blieden.
And who was part of the decision-making of whose wives were actually going to be portrayed?
I don't know. How did we sort of just kind of...
We knew we wanted to do sort of the figureheads at the show. Obviously, we were going to do Jimmy and Higgins because they're the visible presences on the show. And I think we knew Miles was going to work because he had been so good in 7th Floor West. And then we wanted to do a Root. And Owen was the one who was most willing to put on a wig, so we took him. And Bashir reluctantly agreed, and I think you are now happy that you did.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Owen was a willing participant because he's so good that he seems a natural for cross-dressing.
Yeah, the other dudes were not.
Being a cross-dressing drunk is he's very natural to Owen. Yeah.
The other dudes in the Roots were not super psyched about the idea of
you
throwing
get kind
on
of a blank
dresses.
stare when you ask Questlove to put on a wig and a dress.
Well, they've obviously proved to be kind of a nice comic component that Conan has done it a little bit, but you guys seem to be doing a lot more.
They are such naturally gifted comedic performers. It's kind of mind-blowing because they're much better at comedy than I am at playing instruments. But I think that it's become this incredible asset. Like Amy always says, that everyone laughs when they're on screen because they're just so good. Their timing is so good, and they are the hardest working band you've ever seen. They tour constantly on the weekends during the show. I think they've just been around each other and they've just been used to performing so much that it just comes very naturally to them. And I don't know about, I'm sure I speak for a lot of the people here, but like that's been one of the biggest thrills for me anyway of working on the show is getting to know the Roots, who I'd just obviously been a fan of for years. And never in my wildest dreams would have I ever thought that I would be in a situation where I'd be getting to joke around with Questlove. Or, you know, it's just like one of those things where like, you're walking in the hall and you're like, hey man, to Questlove, and he's like, hey, what's going on? And you're just like, oh, wow. And then I tried to high five him and he left me hanging.
It is crazy sometimes to realize, like we were in so many situations in 7th Floor West where you would realize I'm explaining to Black Thought right now that he needs to put on these water wings and, you know, and bounce this beach ball while he's walking down the hall. But those guys, they were such willing participants in that whole thing. It was incredible to realize that.
I mean, on the very first show we did Slow Jam the News, which is something Bashir and Diallo came up with, if I'm not mistaken.
No, we didn't.
Oh, then I am mistaken.
I think it's sort of illustrative of what happened with 7th Floor West and what happened with Housewives is that you don't always work on pieces that you came up with. And so, but you do get a sense to have ownership in it because you do get the first crack at cracking it. And so I think that was something that you guys have been joking about before we even got hired.
That was Gavin's idea.
Yeah,
Gavin
Purcell, one of our producers, who came from a more tech, like he did Attack of the Show. So, but then we were joking about it, and then we wanted to take a stab at it, and then it ended up being pretty fun and pretty.
Now, when you first started like hanging out with the Roots, like pitching that idea with them, was it easy for them? Was it to do it? Were they up for it?
Yeah. I don't know.
Honestly, it's a little hard to remember.
Okay. I know, it was 6 months ago. It was a long time. Sorry to bring it up.